thing. We'll
Okay.
record down here too.
Perfect.
So that we have a whole thing going on. All right, we're going to talk about the Ogam studies. This is the book that we've been reading. It's called Ogam, the Celtic Oracle of Trees by Paul Malfoot. He has a middle name, Malfoot, whatever. He has two books, one on...
Hi, Jen.
Hi Jen. One on Norse and one on the Ogam, which is a Celtic druid oracle of trees. So Paul is here. Hi, Paul. Either way, just a reminder, there's not going to be any live readings for this. This is just us sharing our journey. Thank you, Amy. You are so helpful. I'm experiencing internet fuzziness, as we're going to call it. So either way,
the kindest thing to call it.
We're going to talk about our journey together. Melissa and I have agreed to study this together just because why not? And I'm really excited to have her. I've told her like a bajillion times,
A bajillion. It's been at least a bajillion.
That I'm really just happy to have somebody to study with me.
And we're so excited about it.
Yes.
So excited about this.
We don't really have a plan on what to necessarily talk about. We're just going to talk about what we've been reading, and we were just actually discussing before we started how interesting it is that there's a lot of parallels between this rune set and the Norse rune set. That we both, so Melissa already knows a little bit about runes.
Very little, but nowhere near what this guy knows.
It's enough for us to have this conversation, right? So, number one key interesting fact is that for the Ogam, I'm losing stuff.
There goes.
For the Ogam, there isn't like a tale that talks about where they come from.
Yeah, it's not necessarily an origin story.
Yeah, there's not an origin story like there is for the Norse.
Where Odin goes to retrieve the rune set and then gives it to his followers. There's
nothing like that, no. But it's interesting because the parallels are just this, that one, there's the god deity aspect that creates this divination system. That's number one. And then number two is...
And his name, Oma.
Yeah, his name is Oma. Thank you.
Very much like this, except Oma instead of Oam.
So it's going to be weird Gaelic stuff, whatever.
Oh my god.
So the other part that I was reading that I found interesting is like how the Druids would go into a cave and do the divination to get better insight.
Yeah.
And that's very reflective of Odin's journey into the well, if you think about
it. It is.
That aspect of it. So, I don't know, I was talking with Melissa, I thought maybe it would be interesting for us to like do a parallel and share that sometime. But either way,
comparison.
Comparison.
It would be fascinating.
Yeah, it would be very fascinating. So
I would rely very heavily on your expertise for that.
So this is just going to be whatever you guys want to ask too. So if you're curious about what this is, want to ask us questions, feel free to do that.
And this is the beginning of our journey, so...
This is why it's part one.
Yeah, part one.
Part two won't be until July 21st, actually. We need time to read. Sorry, friends. It's going to be very sparse as far as... Yes, read and study. So it's going to be very sparse as far as like our showing up to do this together kind of journey. But Rachel is here. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Rachel. And Carrie.
Yeah, and Carrie is here. Great. But I thought it would be great to share our journey with all of you as live, just because.
Well, and feedback is always helpful. When you're learning something new, your thoughts are going to be things that it's highly likely we haven't considered. So feedback is fantastic.
Let's talk about the structure of the book a little bit too. So the part we've read already is all about the lore of the Ogam. We've not gone into the divination part yet at all, but that's the next
aspects of the fuse themselves.
Right, but that's the next step. The next part of the book is all about the fuse and the divination part. So,
and that's also why we need extra time to study it.
Yes. So then part 3 will be about the casting. So they go lore, the fuse, and then the casting part, like how to use them for divination. And his other book on the Norse runes is very similar in that setup of lore, how to use them, what their meanings are, and then divination.
And you really liked that book.
I started reading it, but I kind of put it on hold because of this book. Like, I literally put it on pause because it's time to learn about Om and not anything else. So the other cool thing is that we have like a supplement book called How to Read Om. It's going to be backwards on the video, but that's fine. This book literally is all the interpretation part, nothing else. It literally has nothing else in it other than interpretation. So if you're looking to learn about the interpretations of the Om, this would be a great book just to pick up and just start doing the divination part if you don't care about the lore or the history like we do, because we're nerds.
Or if you just, want to try something basic and see if you even like it or are interested. It's an easy, inexpensive little book to get started with. Right.
And so I'm doing some other comparisons too that I talked with Melissa about. So I have some books from some card sets that one was given to me and one I picked up, bought with my own money, where it's the Om, but it's just in a different format. It's in a card system. And
same runes, right? It's all the same runes?
They're all the same runes, they're all the same Oms. It's just different takes on that Om in regards to like what it means to that particular author, or what that means to that particular person who wrote it. My nose is like really itchy all of a sudden. Anyway.
Because we're on camera.
Yes,
Hi,
probably.
Brooke.
So either way, we're up for questions if you want to ask questions about the lore part. I mean, otherwise we can just kind of flip through and find little tidbits of things that we would like to talk about.
Well, and I think too, the when you were talking about the origin of the Ogam runes and how there's not a specific origin story that goes back to a god, and how they found or created the runes and then brought them to their people. I do like how the book says that even though there's not a specific story like that in the Celtic mythology, but there's still parity across different pantheons, different belief systems, different mythologies, where the way that Odin went into brought them back up from the well, and hi Robin, the way that what was it, Mercury, right?
Mare's Well.
There we go.
Mare's Well. So for those of you that don't know, the Norse mythology talks about Mare's Well, which is the well to the underworld. I know that sounds scary, but it's not literal. It's like it's pulling on this reflection of our ability to dive into our own subconscious, into the knowledge we already have, and bringing it to the surface. So that's just what Mare's Well kind of represents. Even though Odin goes to the underworld for the runes and brings them back to the world to share with humanity, it's like bringing back the knowledge for your own understanding of what you already knew and bringing it to the surface for more thought and reflection. So we already talked about Mare's Well a little bit, and the caves of the druids. Those are really reflective of the goddess in a lot of ways too. They really hit hard on that to some degree.
Absolutely.
About how it's literally the goddess's gift to the system and how it's a connectedness to the universe. But here was a little part that I thought was interesting, that it talks about the hero god that creates the divination system in order to codify the wisdom of the natural world in the form of
primordial
signs, and these signs are then to be consulted as an act of divination. So that was kind of one thing that stood out to me. When I read stuff like this, I highlight things that just stand out for whatever reason they stand out to me.
And I like the way that it specifically says that they are a form of primordial sign that is to be used in an act of divination. It's and then eventually these signs, these etchings, these runes were the basis of an alphabet.
Right.
But that was not necessarily, according to lore, according to myth, according to legend, that was not necessarily the original purpose of the script, of the scribings. that there was that deeper spiritual higher purpose to
Right.
those symbols.
Right. Exactly.
And that's the power of symbolism.
Right, right, exactly. So, hi Kathy. So the cool part about this is that, yeah, the Om literally, each one represents a tree in the Celtic Irish area, but even though it represents that tree represents a lot of mythology, and it represents a lot of messages. And
They're like zodiac signs.
Right, or even like the Norse runes, which represented actual people, places, events type of things. So the Norse runes, if you look at what they really say, like there's the rune of cattle, and there's the rune of the ox, and there's the rune of ice. These were like real elements in their world.
Yes.
Real things that they dealt with all the time. And this is the same for the Celtic system, where they bring in the trees, and the trees were so important.
And such a huge part of life that, and the beautiful part about trees too is that they're of several planes. That they are of the earth. They belong to the earth, but they grow towards the sky, towards the heavens, and so that is one of the reasons that the tree of life, those very significant, important symbols. Are trees so often.
Right, right. And this was another thing that I was taking notes on. It says they are potent aids to the art of existence, and when you draw upon the magical Om, it seems that the great trees, which are the alphabet's guardians, draw near in a spirit of peace and protection. So that's like real important if you think about it, because when people encounter something that they're unfamiliar with, the immediate reaction is fear, right? Like fear-based, because they don't know what it is. In this case, they're literally, the author points out, is really for peace and protection. It's really the trees aren't there to hurt you, harm you in any way. They're really there to just give you that guidance. And the other cool part was, I had to look this up, but it talks about how old they are. Hey, Jackie! Hi Jackie! Jackie and I actually talked about doing something like this in the future with cards, but we'll talk about that still, Jackie. But either way, just to give you guys an idea, the Om hasn't been documented, was originally documented around the 200, 300, 80 time frame. It says C in the book, but that's the same time.
The same common era.
It's the same common era. It's the same as after death. It's the same time frame. It wasn't documented until after the it says there's no evidence of existence before the Roman time, so it was somewhere after the Romans had dominated the world. So just to give you an idea of like how old this system is. It's not new by any means. We're not like creating it. We're literally just learning about it.
There's been a resurgence of contemporary Ogham readings or Ogham divination. This book was published in 2002 and 2003, and he started writing it right as this huge contemporary resurgence was occurring. So, you know, that's been like 16 years ago now. And so part of this, I'm reading this first section, and he's talking about this, and I'm going, where was I? Oh my God, how did I miss this awesome stuff? Until you and I had this conversation, you know, like
I'll tell you
4 months
why.
ago.
It's because according to the author, the resurgence happened after kind of like this dark era of Druidism, which is tied into the Om. Like the Druids used the Om as their own alphabet, their own code.
They also kept it to themselves.
They did.
They kept it away from the rustics and the peasants.
Not only that, but it was all oral tradition for many, many years. So you had to really study. Where was that studies at? So there's a place in this book that talks about the studies. It's like, oh, here we go. So it's like year 1, you had to learn 50 ohms or alphabets, elementary grammar, and 20 tales. That was just like year 1.
This was the druidic colleges training to become a druidic priest. This is the study that he's talking about.
Right.
It's nuts.
Right. Well, it's just it's like documents.
Yay!
Yeah, I know. So it's just like literally documenting the 12 years that you were required to study before you were ever considered a druid. It was like way intense.
And then you're
stuff.
talking like level 1 druid.
Level
We're not
1.
talking level 20 druids
Level
here.
20.
No.
It's like, it's kind of funny because it's almost like in regards to like how we understand levels for like games and stuff. in a way.
That's
But
your level 1 druid right
level
there.
1 druid knew 50 Ogams or alphabets in elementary grammar and 20 tales. That's what they knew. Level 12 knew 120 orientations, the 4 arts of poetry, and during this time, the 2 years previous to master the 175 tales, along with 175 of the tales learned by Arthur. I don't know how to say his name.
Oh, it's all Gaelic stuff, guys. Sorry.
And then 350 tales in
175 plus 175 equals 350.
350 tales.
And again, all oral tradition, so they are memorizing this crap. Memorizing it. I can't memorize phone numbers anymore.
Who can?
I know.
I mean, so
I mean, seriously.
you guys will appreciate when we get to part 2. It's going to be a lot of like memorizing on our part
Yeah.
to know the divination part, especially. So here's the thing I want you all to know, and Melissa and I talked about this, is that we are going to eventually create our own Ogams, our own Oms, and in that process, we're going to then start using them for our own divination purposes. So
Personally first, starting with personal divination.
Nothing public by any means, but for me, as a business person, this will be public eventually.
Because obviously he's awesome at it.
Yes, there's that. I mean, she's not wrong, but the
No,
point
I'm not.
is, I'm not quite there yet. So look for that service. It is going to come probably by October, I would guess, because we're going to be
rocking and rolling.
We're going to be done with our studies by August 4th at this point.
And then start some creation process.
Yeah, and I've already looked up the creation process. It looks pretty simple.
Let's talk about this a little while. Is that okay, everybody? We're going to talk about the creation process a little while.
There's no real flow to this. So Google knows pretty much everything except for like how to use tarot and runes together. It doesn't know that, but it knows how to create rune sets, tumbles. So I looked up tumble stones because that's what I used for my current rune set. It's a hematite set that I bought from Barnes & Noble.
Beautiful.
And so I already have the stones I want to use picked out. Pardon me. And anyway, so we have to get a Dremel, number 1. Waterproof paint, number 2.
For those of you, a Dremel is a carvy thing.
Yes,
it's the carvy thing.
It's a carvy thing. It's literally a tool that most people use for carpentry, but we're going to use it to create stones. And then once we have the paint and the Dremel, we also have to have gloves and a mask because we're going to be...
You're going to be safety first.
Safety first.
Safety first.
Safety is so important, guys. Just make sure you know kind of what you're doing, and having some extra tumbles won't be a mess because
because you know we're going to mess up.
We're going to mess up. It's
so hard.
Totally going to be okay. It'll be fine. It's not going to be perfect the first time, and that's what the paint is for, is to trace over our drawing on the tumble
to make it pop.
Yeah.
So that there's no question this is what the rune is when it throws.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Gwen. I always say Gwen. It's Jen.
Jen!
It's a past life thing.
Nice.
It's her and I swear it's a past life thing. Every time I see her name, I want to call her Guinevere. Guinevere's here.
I won't do that, I promise.
She's okay with it. She really is okay with it. But the point is like, so that's why we use the paint, because it will come off with some rubbing alcohol real easy.
So if you make a mistake,
yeah, you can make a mistake, and then not only will the mistake be okay, you can just erase it and start over and repaint it. And once you get it to a point where you're okay with how it looks, then you can carve into the stone. You just also know what kind of stones we're using. We're gonna have to look into that a little bit.
This is the fascinating process.
Yes.
Is like figuring out, because that's where all of your energy is going to channel through the material that you choose. And
Absolutely.
so our discussion right now, I mean, you're really solid. You are really solid on the stone, and I'm still up in the air. Do I want to go with stones, or do I want to try to procure, because each of the 20 fuse directly identifies with a tree. So do I want to try to collect those 20 different types of wood? Now, I'm not going to be able to physically collect them myself here in eastern Iowa. While I would love to play, around the world in 80 days, that'd be so much fun. That's improbable.
Yeah.
So I am currently researching online the expense of being able to purchase those different woods from around the world, and also try to find reliable sellers so that I actually get the wood that it is I'm looking for.
Right. So this is stuff you guys want to think about.
These are the thoughts.
Yeah, just think about this stuff when you dive into stuff like this. Is because there's no
everything has purpose.
Right, and there's no one right way
to
do it.
Oh no.
And I would love that too. Like if I had the least money opportunity, I would do it that way.
Well, 100%. And you know that if the pieces that I find are big enough, we're both having wood
Absolutely.
sets. You know it.
But I already just lean on stone so bad.
And it's so much easier to get.
It's
it really
easy
is.
to get, number one. And number two is I love my stone sets. And number three is when I thought about using these for reading, I thought stone would just be easier because it eliminates the potential for injury from like splinters and stuff like that.
Yeah, while carving into them.
So Jackie says, what about petrified wood crystals, wood fossils? So here's the thing, like petrified wood is a very specific thing. But once wood gets petrified, it changes the quality and energy of that wood.
So it no longer has the same properties as the original wood.
No, because it goes through this process of being petrified, like years of being underground, around other things.
And that just naturally means that it takes on and absorbs different energies.
Right. It's just natural. Petrified wood would be great if you wanted to take a piece of petrified wood and make like a stone wood set. That would be totally fine to do it that way.
Yeah.
Just know that petrified wood has its own specific energy.
And just understanding it's not going to have the individual properties of the different types of wood that wouldn't be petrified.
Right.
So it's still absolutely a viable option. The same, if you want to do an entirely hematite set, an entirely petrified wood set, an entirely, quartz set. However you wanted to do that, it would still absolutely work. It just wouldn't be the same as collecting all of those different types of wood and creating a wood set. But thank you so much, Jackie. That's a wonderful thought.
It is. It really is. Because if you think about it,
and a great question.
Right. It really is. I haven't actually thought about that at all.
Yeah.
Even a little bit. So petrified wood would be like the best of both worlds, honestly. Like you're getting that wood aspect, but in a stone form.
Yeah, that's why it's still just a great idea.
However, let me share with you guys what my thoughts are in my process of what I want to do is, like, Melissa already knows. But the point is like for me, I've already decided that because of this book, it's called The Celtic Tree Oracle, A System of Divination.
And it's just pretty.
It's
pretty.
A simple book. It doesn't go into big divination stuff, but what I love about it is this goes into like key points in the front of the book. It has key words.
We need to do the close up on that. That one's neat.
Yeah, so it's just a neat little thing. So either way,
it's just cool.
I kind of decided that with this book talks about a three-circle system: the past circle, the present circle, and the moving forward circle, are what direction you're going right now. And when I thought about it, I thought, well, I want to do a set for the past, and a set for the present, and a set for the potential outcome.
And what he's talking about the layout for divination, like the layout when you do a reading has a past, a present, and a possible outcome circle.
Yeah, there are 5 stones.
A set for each.
Yeah,
oh my God.
There are 5 stones for each one, and the way this book describes the system, I don't like it all that much, so I'm changing it. Let me see what Jackie has to say.
I was wondering what the rest of that.
Jackie says I've had fossils calling me like crazy lately. So I had to ask. Y'all are so point right on. Do it. Yeah. Do it. Like if you. So fossils, that would be a great.
That's got to be a lot of like past life stuff calling to you, I would think.
Possibly.
I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look it up right now, Jackie. So he's going to keep going.
I'm going to keep talking. She's
Yep.
going to Google. We're going to look this up for Jackie for
Ooh.
a brief moment of time. But the point
And I
is,
know you can too, but this is fun.
the point is like, I think the past set I've decided on like a black stone. I think it was jet or obsidian, and then like the present set's gonna be malachite. I'm just like, yeah. Jenny says it's brilliant. I can't take credit for it, Jenny, not even a little bit. The only part I can take credit for is the thought process of how I want to do it. So it is brilliant, and how this person put this together in this system. I don't know if they created it or what happened. She's in transition, so that's funny. Anyway, so the past, present, future, I'm going to use those terms, but just know I don't typically say future. It's past, present, outcome in my world. So
because the future is never set.
No, and so to me, the present set's going to be made out of malachite, which is the green stone, and then the outcome stone is going to be howlite, which is white. So it's like perfect planning in my head of what's going to happen here and how I'm going to do it. Now I'm going to talk about this, the way they say to do this system a little bit.
Can I do a brief insert?
Sure.
Insert?
Do a brief insert.
Okay. Fossils, circle of life, embracing change. Everything comes and goes. It's all a big circle. Embrace that girl. They are calling to you. That's it. Oh my God. That's it. That's wunderbar. I love it.
So this is why
it's a reason for everything.
So I wish I had the insert to this, but actually I can do this.
Yep.
So now you guys can see the three circles, that I'm talking about, and so what I don't like is for this system, it literally says to lay out all the cards face down, and then if Melissa was my client, she would pick out 5, and I would document which one she picked first, which one she picked second, and there's an order to each circle.
And then they don't get revealed until
they would get put back and mixed up, and then she would pick 5 more. So in this system, it's possible to get the same few in your past, present, and outcome. It's possible for that, but it's going to mean probably different things depending on where it falls.
Right.
So I don't like that because that just means a lot of work on my end and a lot of work on the client's end.
And that's why the 3 different sets is so brilliant. It's so brilliant.
And for me, I like that better because as a reader, I like to see everything in front of me. So Becky says, yep, shaman soul death is
gestation of rebirth,
and hoping the past and cultivating space for new right now for me.
Embracing change, baby.
So Jenny's new to this, and I've been collecting for years, but I've made anything with them, so there's a reason I'm just a crystalline stone for her. That's funny. And Davina is here.
The funny thing is that's how so many of us start out, is we're just like, I love these so much. I love them. I have to have them.
This is why I have so many tarot decks.
Yes, you do.
This is why I have so many
tarot decor right there.
I got rid of a bunch of them, but anyway. So, welcome Davina. It's
hi Davina.
If you guys are just tuning in, whatever, please go back and capture the front of this video. I'm gonna leave it on Facebook, but
because we're hysterical.
I'm also going to be posting this on YouTube. So as we move forward, Melissa and I are just gonna let you know when we're gonna come back on. Again, the next date is gonna be the 21st of July right now, but these dates are kind of in flux.
Oh, Melissa!
Melissa Ricky! Hello, the other Melissa.
The other Melissa
I keep wanting to introduce you to, but
counterpart.
your counterpart in a way. So just know, guys, that these dates are in flux,
Hi,
and
Andrea.
they may change as we need to change them because life happens.
Yep.
And so they're not set in stone, but for right now, we're planning on the 21st of July as being our next installment of us just coming on and talking about where we're at in our journey.
And hopefully we will be at an excellent place because we will have thoroughly studied the meaning of all of the views.
Yes, but by all means, like when we get to the point of doing readings, then we'll let you guys know. And then for me, I might be seeking people out to practice this on and just play with it.
Do not be offended if I'm not reading for anybody, because I'm not this guy. I'm not this guy.
Yeah, just
my divination practice is very much a personal one. I don't do it for other people because it makes me nervous.
Yeah. So just know that it's fine to use this stuff for any purpose whatsoever.
Absolutely.
Melissa's gonna use it for her own journey, her own personal journey, and not for any other reason. Well, I'm doing both. Like, it's gonna be my personal journey, but it's also gonna be part of my business later on.
But that's because that's what you're good at. That's what you do.
I mean, it's
what you do.
It's a thing that I'm really good at doing. So.
And that made me think, that thing you just said about personal journey is, it reminds me of something I read in this first section, and I've read it in multiple books about meditation, about divination, about spirituality. That it's a tool. It's not a fortune telling game. It's a tool that when you really do utilize these types of divinatory tools and the methods that they are the most effective, then what you're getting is you're getting a tool to help you on your personal journey.
Absolutely.
You're not getting something that's going to tell you what's going to happen in the future. What's going to happen tomorrow? Oh my God, am I going to meet that guy next week? It's not.
Right.
You know what it's for? You know.
It's really not.
It's to give you insight into your life, your soul, your past lives, and how that can shape your future.
And that's actually the way the Om talks about its own divination system. Is that it talks about how it's literally the Om itself represents the branches of a tree.
Yes.
And that's why they're called fate twigs. They're called fate twigs, kind of similar how the Norse runes talk about the web of weird, which is the web of fate. I just know that stuff because I'm a real good Norse person at this point.
Right.
But the point
and it does touch on it a little bit in the Celtic aspect in this book. That's
but
why it's
nice.
Nice.
Like the same idea is there. The same, at least to me, the same idea is there, where the fate twigs can show you where things could be going right now, and you can change that outcome or not, depending on how you want things to grow. In that aspect of, think of your life as a tree, and right now you may be at a point of a root, and you're growing, and you're like, oh, it's time to branch off, but which direction do I go? You could branch lots of different ways. Okay? All right, friends, any questions? I guess we've been just blah, 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 blah.
Because we do this. Can we talk for just a moment publicly about how alike we look right now? I want to mention this.
This was non-planned.
This was not planned at all. We showed up and we did the camera test before we started, and I went, oh my God, James, look at us. Holy crap. So we're adorable. We're adorable today.
Too funny. But yeah, even though we're being very adorable, just know you guys are welcome to ask questions as we're talking, discussing. If you're interested in joining our journey, we're open to that. Just know that you have to catch up and buy the books. Like, we're already on a track of how, when, where we want to get done. But by all means, if you're interested, want to join our journey, you're welcome to do that.
Or be inspired to start your own.
Right. The point is like, we're pretty open to whatever comes, whatever happens. And if we're inspiring you to take on your own journey in this realm, then go for it. Just know that we have this book that we're using, but there are other books out there too that talk about the Om for sure. There's no one right book necessarily in my world.
This one just appealed to both of us.
Yes. And I'm actually really glad because I never heard the author before. And when I bought this book, I saw that he also wrote the one on Norse runes, and so I was like, oh, I should just buy both of them.
Because obviously he loves the Norse runes.
Well, he must love runes in general. And I'm really glad because I love the way he sets it up. I just do.
It is. It's a great setup.
It really is.
And I truly appreciate getting the history, the lore history. It touches on, without taking you into some sort of religious history. It touches on the aspects of druidry. It touches on there's a little bit of, because it's obviously prior to the advent of Christianity in Ireland. but it touches a little bit on how those influences would kind of intermingle later, which is fascinating.
It's all fascinating stuff. So either way, if there are questions, feel free to ask. We really only really know about the lore right now, and I mean, we can wrap this up too, no problem, if there aren't questions. But just know you can always reach out to me and ask questions at any time about what we've learned so far. And I can always shoot those questions to Melissa because I have her contact on Facebook, so I know how to get a hold of her. We can give you kind of a joint response that way.
Just bombard you with responses.
Bombard is right. But that's it, guys. I mean, not really a whole lot, and we're not planning to have much of a structure as far as how we're going to proceed, but that may change moving forward, especially with the next installment being more about the fuse and the individual fuse.
Because we'll likely start at the beginning and go
just,
through them.
Just so you get an idea of what that's like. So I'm going to flip open to this book and show you. So it has each one that's in a certain direction and what letter they stand for, because they are an alphabet. So either way.
Also talks about how they, the structure of how they used it to write sentences.
Yes.
Like it's just truly fascinating.
So it goes in that order of like B, then L, then F, but they're all in the same direction. It starts in that direction sense of like 1, 2, and just to give you a better idea of why that is, because when you look at the fuse itself, I'm gonna try to show it. It has that little marking there. I'm gonna pull it down there. Sorry, I'm trying to also record the YouTube
two videos
at once because I'm a weirdo. But yeah, they each kind of look like that little line with a little branch off of it. And so, like, they all look like that. So that's why it goes in that order, is because it's going in the order of the branch, like branch 1, branch 2, branch 3, branch 4, branch 5. I think it goes up to 5. And then once it reaches 5, then it goes the other way.
To the next,
It goes the opposite way. Not that it means that it's an opposite direction.
No.
Necessarily, it's just it goes the opposite way. It's just the second branch, really. But it even goes diagonal.
Oh, Jenny, I'm looking forward to it too. It'll be amazing.
It'll be great. And once the creations are done, we'll have that content. And actually, like, I was thinking it would be cool if we could record.
Well, I think we can record each other, don't you think?
Yeah, we could record each other creating it, and you guys can watch that process. I think that would be great to be part of that, and just get to see what it's like for us to create our own sets in the moment, and just see the joy and the struggle and the real tears or whatever.
Because there will be some.
There probably will.
Yep.
Like, seriously, this is a big deal. This is such a big deal.
And we're both very invested.
Yes, and let me just tangent for a brief moment of time. Because this is why it's so important, is because in all of rune lore that I've ever read, it always talks about the most powerful rune sets being the ones that you create yourself.
Yes.
Or if you're lucky, somebody creates them for you.
Yeah.
Those are going to be the most powerful sets that we'll ever have in our entire lives. And I know that seems like maybe too much, but it's a big deal to go into this process, because you're pouring your heart and soul and energy into creating this.
Well, and you think about it, so if you do the entire process yourself, you have made every decision consciously and thoughtfully from the very beginning. We have made a conscious decision to choose to learn about and create a set of Ogam runes, that specific set of runes. So there is a reason that we are each drawn to that. So from that moment, everything we do from that point is already invested with that energy and that power. The next step is deciding what the materials that we want to use. So you do stone, that's fine. Choose it thoughtfully, and not just because, hey, I found a bunch of cheap stone. Even if you're not going to buy your stone or your rocks, choose them from the ground or from the riverbed or from the field. However you do it, choose them thoughtfully. because every
Absolutely.
time you make a thoughtful, conscious decision, that energy is going to be invested into this process, invested into that end product that you're going to use multiple times, whether it's for yourself or for others.
Absolutely.
And it's what's so beautiful, and it's why I'm not kicking myself over this decision between, wood or stone, because I know it's going to make a huge impact for
It
me.
really will, and that's actually the other part of the rune lore too, is that they say to use the natural elements like the wood or the
Yes.
stone
Yes.
to create your set, like
Or bone.
Or bone.
But that creeps me out.
Bone creeps me out a little bit too.
But maybe Jackie with her fossils.
Yeah, fossils. I mean, that's not
Ooh.
quite bone, but it's close.
Ooh, wouldn't that be
Ooh,
interesting?
Hey,
A
Jackie,
past set.
Jackie, you could literally be casting the bones. That's great. Like that's bone casting is a real thing. By the way,
It
that's
is.
not something I'm.
It's a highly African divinatory.
It is.
It's highly used in African countries as a
and
divinatory method.
not only that, but part of the Norse rune history is this.
Ooh,
this
it's
is
also
this is where it gets all like
gross.
weird
Those
in a
Norse-
way, like cool
Those
but weird.
Nords.
They talk about in the history of casting the bones, but they don't, and they say the bones had symbols on it, but they don't say what the symbols were. And so someone like myself could say, "Oh, runes were always used for divination," and I wouldn't be wrong. And Melissa,
See, she knew.
Melissa could say they were never used for divination, and she wouldn't be wrong.
I wouldn't be wrong either.
That's where people will argue about the Norse runes all the time, and I'm sure that Ohm
And
gets
how far
its
back
own.
they go.
The Ohm gets its own
Mhm.
version of that too, because
Yeah, Celts just tend to, settle stuff by punching and stuff. So.
not only that, but
How
like
we roll.
even in the book, like they talk about like the disagreements of like which Ohm really means what, and did it really come
Yes.
from a tree or did it come from some other source?
Yes.
Like the divination process. I don't remember where I read that, but there's one in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Where
Well, and the order too. The
Mhm.
order of them is also disputed.
That too. And the other interesting part that I read that I think you probably found interesting too
Mhm.
is the fact that there's an Ohm for like everything. There's an Ohm for birds.
Yes.
There's an Ohm for reptiles. There's an Ohm for whatever. And I think that the point was that the Ohm was basically its own encyclopedia of things.
An encyclopedia of things and a way to try to understand the natural powers in the world.
Right.
To try to codify or create a method of understanding. It's the same way we always try to understand things that we know nothing about or are out of our control. So this was the way to try to define and understand those things in the natural world. So they do relate to trees or to animals and
That is a fun fact. Thor used to fly with goats who he ate. Then he would wrap their
my
bones
God.
in their hide and reincarnate them.
This is terrible.
So funny.
I picture
I could see
I'm
him-
picturing Chris Hemsworth doing this.
That's-
This is what I'm
that's
picturing
funny.
right now.
Thanks for the fun fact.
Oh. At least,
right.
I mean, now at least it's a little hot in my head, Jackie. So thank you. That's at least I have that.
Well, that's just I got nothing on
I
that.
know.
I mean,
So okay, so back to our serious talk.
yes.
Serious talk.
Serious talk.
But so every conscious decision along the way that you make, even as we're doing the creating of the rune sets themselves, it's not that you have to set up a big, huge, beautiful ritual circle around you or anything like that, but funneling your energy and your intentions and your hopes and your wishes for this tool that you are going to, with any luck, use to good purpose for a long, long time. So even those moments, the etching, even the terrible ones where I'm gonna mess up. That intention will be there to create this. All right, this is Beth. All right, now I am thinking about what Beth means, what it can signify in life for me, and the positive things that I hope it'll bring for myself and others.
Not only that, but when we're etching, however we're etching, we can also think about the stone or the tree that we're etching
Yes.
into, and that specific stone's energy,
Yes.
or that specific tree's energy,
And what it's going to
and
bring.
let's hit on that a little bit. So the Om, even though each one represents the tree itself, they kind of represent different things, like the literal and the mythical, like the metaphorical messages. Metaphorical is the word I would want to use anyway. So, say Melissa chooses trees, like she's carving Beth into, I forget which tree.
That one is birch.
Birch, thank you. So she gets a piece of birch, and then she's thinking about, okay, what is a birch? What is the properties of the birch? And how did the Celts view birch, right? We should talk about that too. So the Celts have this weird system of like chieftains, peasants, and shrubs as when it comes to the Ogam or the Om, whichever way you want to pronounce it, doesn't matter.
There are many ways.
I say Om because that's the way that the one book called it, and I'm just going to go with it.
I tend to say Oyam.
That's fine, and I'm not going to dispute it. But
we're referring to the same thing.
The point is that I lost my train of thought.
The birch.
Yeah, the birch has its own separate meaning than the actual Om itself. So think about that when you put together your stuff, like what's the one energy and what's the other energy, and putting those things together. Okay.
And you could literally chase your tail around in circles for forever trying to research all of the meanings to every single aspect of this process.
I would say pick the meanings that stand out the most to you.
Exactly. Those that resonate with you are the ones that you need to hang on to.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think this might be a good place to
Oh my
wrap things
God,
up.
we've been talking for that long?
Yeah, for an hour. Almost an hour. I try to do, so future reference, we try to do lives for like a half hour.
Oh, whoops.
Just because
it's my bad, guys.
This is going to be one of those lives that's probably going to go beyond the half hour by a little bit.
Next time, quite a bit.
Probably a lot of it.
Likely.
Likely, and we may have to break it up into two.
Yeah, that might not be a bad idea.
So we'll figure that part out.
We don't need y'all getting bored.
Yeah, this is not to bombard you with information by any means, but we want to share our journey. We want to share this process with you guys because it is something that I've never looked into until Melissa showed up at Prismscape one day.
And it was meant to be.
It was just meant to be.
It was meant to be.
It just happened. The moment was there, and I was like, oh, why am I not doing that? It was like, I've known about these for years, like literally.
And this is where it went.
Yeah, like unexpected tangent, unexpected branch that decided
I know.
to grow.
It was our branch. This is our branch.
Unexpected branch that decided to grow. But yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Again, send questions our way.
Because man, the stuff about the petrified wood and the fossils that came up, that was fascinating. That was fabulous.
All fascinating, fabulous stuff. And if you think about any questions after the live, just feel free to message me.
Yeah.
And we'll get back to you like as soon as I can get a hold of Melissa. It's not a big deal. Either way.
I'd say bring them to the next one, but it's going to be a while. So.
Yeah. You could. That's a good idea too. Like you could always write them down and then just have like a space for questions in regards to Om to ask us, and then.
Yeah. Especially if it has to do with individual meanings, because that's what we're working on next time.
Since that is the next process, you could have some questions in regards to that. I actually took the time to, and we're gonna look at this part too, where I wrote down some content, where content meanings of like the outcome, or is it in reflection to a woman or a man? Is it in reflection to work, love, health, body, spirit, money, time or timing, any sort of advice or action, what kind of orientation, objects or areas that might be affecting, like this is stuff that
we're going to work on
and
trying to
see if things fit into any of those areas when we're looking at the interpretations. These are topics I got out of La Normande book that I have that I thought would be really helpful to capture some of the rune meanings and where they might fall into certain areas.
He introduced me to that too.
I did, but we're not here to talk about La Normande.
Not this time.
However, just putting that content together, you can think of those questions like how does this rune what might it bring to my work life? You could think of, ask those questions, and we'll have some answers. That would be great. Either way, I'm gonna go ahead and finish this off. Bye-bye.
All right, guys, this is
and
about
we
as long as I can
will-
go without having to go to the bathroom.
And we will see you in a couple weeks.
Woo woo!
Bye-bye.
Bye.